Hello and welcome to the final episode of What to Watch Today at reinvent, or chatting with Marcia and her friends, because that's what we have been doing lately. I cannot believe we are already at the end of reinvent. It's been a 3 weeks journey and there's still one more week in January, but I will not be doing live stream. I need some holidays. So today I have amazing guests as always. My first guest is Zamira Jaupaj, an AWS community hero. And also I have Shankyu, AWS Serverless hero. Welcome. Thank you again for accepting my invitation and being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. How are you doing?
Thank you for having us, Marcia. I'm super excited to be here with you.
Yeah, maybe you can introduce yourself, Zamira first. I don't know, never know which direction I am.
Yeah, you are in my...
This mirrors the image, so it's always confusing.
My name is Zamira. As Marcia said, I am community hero. I work at Mobiquity as a solution architect. My background in general is to design and give solution for the customer. I designed really critical and complex solution for mostly focusing on enterprise companies, but I do everything and nothing in AWS. I'm not focusing only in something specific, so it depends on the requirement of the customers and what they really want. So basically, I just design the blueprint and that fits the customer requirements. And also, I wanted to say that I am organizer of community here in Netherlands. So we do a lot of events with local and international speakers. So if someone wants really to join to speak, I will be super happy.
Yeah, I will put your contact links in the screen, so if somebody wants to reach out, then they can. So, Jan, I'm pretty sure everybody knows you, but maybe you can say a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. My name is Yan. I'm a AWS service hero and been using AWS in production for over 10 years now, I guess 2020. And nowadays, I'm mostly doing work with different customers as a consultant, sometimes just advisory work, sometimes it's actually doing some hands-on delivery work for building a POC and stuff like that, and also doing a lot of work with Lumigo as a developer advocate. So Lumigo is a troubleshooting platform for service applications, which really makes your life a lot easier if you need to quickly debug something and figure out what the problem is. And I'm using them in a lot of my client projects as well, which really helps. Been in this server space for a while, and it's my primary focus nowadays.
Yeah, and you're also making an Appsync course that I'm very excited.
Right. Yeah, that's gone quite well so far. It's called the Appsync Masterclass. You can check it out at the appsyncmasterclass.com. It's basically building a Twitter clone using Appsync, Lambda, DynamDB, Cognito, Vue.js, and Tailwind CSS on the front end. Working with one of your colleagues at AWS, Gerard Sanz, who's on the sort of Amplify team, and he's helping me with all the front end stuff and putting in Vuex to do the state management on the front end side. So that's been doing really well. We've just finished the lesson whereby you build a whole backend already for Twitter, with the basic getting followers and following people, tweeting, retweeting, and all of that stuff. And now we're getting into the front end lessons to actually do some Vue.js and Tailwind CSS.
Yeah, at least when you showed it last time to me, it was very hard to know what was Twitter and what was not Twitter. It looks very exactly the same. Maybe the one that you have doesn't have ads. That's maybe the difference.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time just tuning the CSS to make it look almost exactly the same.
Yeah. So my first questions to all my guests, both of you have been in reinvent previously. So what are you missing from reinvent? Jan? How many times?
I've been to reInvent, I think it's 3 or 4 times now. I haven't really been keeping track, but the last couple of times I've mostly spent time just meeting people, and I think that's something that I missed this year. Is when you're in there, for a whole week, you meet up with people that you don't see in person, because I'm based in the Netherlands now, but there's a lot of people that I know or work with are in the US. So the only time I see them is in Vegas, or maybe they're coming from other parts of the world. So I really miss that, I guess, socializing, networking, and it's not the same, even though we're doing some remote sessions and meetings, but it's just not the same. I think that's the thing that I miss the most.
Yeah. And what about you, Zamira? You have been in reInvent how many times?
I have been 2 times. So definitely I miss a lot of networking. I miss people. I miss connection with people and just talking with people. So I mean, as Jan said already, we are doing a lot of online events, but definitely it's not the same. So I mean, talking with people and probably having the coffee and chatting or sharing some experience, it's so I mean, we're really missing this part. And Vegas it's really the event that everyone is excited to go there and meet the people around the world, especially for us that are in community here. We really are excited to wait for this event that we are all together and we just share our experience together. Now, this year it was really nice with Neon City. So we meet it virtually, but I mean it's not the same. Even it was really interesting.
How was the goggles? Both of you have.
Great. Yeah.
I think Jan as well had it. It was really interesting. So I mean, we are in a virtual environment and we just talk with each other, and so basically we have completely different kind of. We can design ourselves, we can dress ourselves, we can color our hairs and put different eyes. It was
hard
really
interesting.
Yeah.
And you have some events or something going on there, like meetups or
there's been some parties and stuff like that where I think yesterday there was a serverless leadership session where I think they got everyone to wear the goggle, go into the Neon City and watch the session together, which is kind of fun.
Oh, nice. That sounds like I will get a huge headache. But
and also I think today we have the final party from in Neon City. Yeah, it'll be really nice, I guess.
Is that at Europe-friendly time or it's in the middle of the night?
I think it's Europe-friendly time. Yes, it's Europe. But I'm not sure if there are another one for USA or other countries,
Yeah, I think they got 2 slots, one for Europe, one for US and maybe Canada and I guess maybe Australia as well.
Maybe Pacific, yeah.
Yeah, you are right,
because it's hard to coordinate everybody in the world. Yeah. So I will ask you, both of you, tell me one of the most important or relevant or interesting launches that you had. Maybe Zamira, we can start with you. What was the launch that caught your attention, or you think this is really useful, or you try already?
Yeah. So there was so many new announcements this year as the event was super long, but starting from the first announcement from Andy Jassy keynote, there are some about machine learning that really impressed me a lot. And it was, I think AWS every year try to go border and border to have more and more campus away or new technology, new campus. But this year was completely new about the sensors and all of this equipment that it will be very useful for manufacturing companies. Yeah. And it was Amazon Panorama, really nice service. I didn't try myself. That's at the moment, I think the price is super high.
I think Panorama is an appliance also, so you need to kind of get it physically.
Yeah, you have to have appliance, exactly.
Yeah. And then you can connect all your cameras around.
And you can connect like up to 10 cameras at the same time and sending stream to this, let's say, appliance, and automatically they send all the data in cloud, and based on this data, it's applied machine learning and give you the output in real time. I think it will be very, very useful. You can imagine the situation probably in the supermarket, especially now in COVID time, and you can see in real time if the line is super big or is small. Okay, I can go into this supermarket, but I can go in another one. So I think it will be very, very useful to let's say check the real environment and understand if you can go there, you can go there, but can find any other use case as well. And there was also Amazon for equipment. Lookout for equipment, Amazon Lookout for vision, and another one, Amazon Monitoring, like end-to-end monitoring that basically allows you to detect the issues or the problem of your product and make sure the product is quality enough before going in production or make online. I think this for manufacturing companies, it will be very, very useful to check and to see if so everything is automatically. I would say the people only with the mobile application can see if their product is good or is not good, and then they can go physically to resolve where this product have some issues.
Yeah,
and
And what about you, Chan? What is the launch that caught your attention or you thought it was the most useful?
So there's quite a few interesting launches. I don't think there's anything that's that blows your mind, but certainly there's quite a few stuff in the serverless space, like the token-based billing. Is the best kind of automation. It's the ones that you don't do anything.
Exactly, and you get the benefit.
Cheaper. Yeah, you just benefit. You don't have to do anything. Things just get cheaper. I think for a lot of people, Lambda is probably not the smallest part of their bill, so it's not going to be significant saving. But at the same time, you don't have to do anything, so you just get saving out of the box. So I think that's pretty cool.
This is something that maybe encourage people to do smaller Lambdas, because I think at least I have spoken with people that they try to pack many, like not a lot of things in one Lambda, but maybe a couple of functionalities. And I think with that and the synchronous express step functions and the connection with API Gateway, then you can have really interesting workflows.
I really like the synchronous invocation with synchronous execution with Express workflow, because that's been something that's kind of been missing for a while now. There's a lot of workflow type of things you want to do, but you want to use the step functions, but you couldn't. You have to have this weird start and then start polling for the results, two separate endpoints. So that kind of moved a lot of complexity to the clients. And now you can just do the whole synchronous invocation, and you can even use that from from your maybe a parent workflow or something like that as well. I'm not sure how well that works with Express workflow with 5 minutes, but still, I think it opens up some really interesting interesting use cases.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite launches, that synchronous Express. Maybe it's a small thing, but it's something, at least I really love step functions, and I really like composing with step functions. And every time you use API Gateway, you're like, oh, now I cannot use a step function.
I wish they would extend that to support standard workflows as well. So it's only for Express workflows right now. I understand why, but love to see that happen with standard workflow too.
1 year blocking thing, maybe.
maybe, but then you can run the Express workflows for 5 minutes as well, which is longer than API with the timeouts.
But what you will need the standard workflow for? If What
It's
will you
well,
use?
for one thing, the visualization. The visualization, I think you don't get that with Express workflows.
No.
And there's a lot of things that just makes debugging a lot easier. Like you're trying to do some payment processing stuff, and instead of having to sort of visualize in your head by looking at the logs, you just open up the step functions console, and oh right, that's where you failed. After some those branches everywhere, and okay, that's tiny bit after that, like 5 different steps. So having that visualization is great. Maybe that's something that they can maybe eventually enable on the Express workflows for extra cost. Maybe, I'm not sure, but
I think because the standard workflows, they all have an ARN, and they're like more like a little thing, and the Express, they are like just a request, they just go. So there's a different treatment on both of the whole things.
Yeah, I think standard workflows that still runs on top of simple workflow service, right? And I guess Express workflow is probably implemented as just like execution engine that give you some kind of a visual modeling tool, but then it's just maybe some Golang code or Rust code running behind the scenes. So it's probably a lot less, a lot lighter in terms of the execution side of things. Maybe that's why, I'm not sure. But still, it's good to have that option at least to use the Express workflows, so that you can still use the same modeling tooling and for designing the workflow, even you can't visualize the execution runtime.
I think at least for step functions, when you use the Visual Studio Code, you can use the plugin, and that it doesn't matter if it's a standard one or an Express one.
But that's just for the designing, right? Not for the visualizing for the actual.
No, but you said the designing side.
The designing
not for the debugging. No.
Yeah, for the running, I think the running side would be nice to have on the Express workflows. Even you have to pay a bit more, maybe extra cost. There's also the Aurora Serverless V2. I think that's got a lot of potential once it comes out of preview. The container image support, I guess, and the 10 gig functions. I guess if you are doing specific kind of workloads, that may be really useful for machine learning, for stuff like that. Or I think some people now are talking about using the container image to support other custom runtimes. Maybe it's easier to support that than to use the existing custom runtimes mechanism. One thing I wasn't quite sure, there's something someone asked me on Twitter the other day, whether or not CloudWatch logs is still supported on the container image. I didn't actually check it when I tested container image during beta. Do you know by heart whether or not CloudWatch collection is still logs collection is still the same?
I have not tried. I tried the container image, but I'm thinking if I have tried the logs. Okay. I'm not 100% sure. Okay. It will be weird that it doesn't support it, because in general everything, it always works right into the standard output. But it's a question I will need. I'm pretty sure I will get the answer as soon as I try it again, because I will always like to console log event.
I thought it did, but maybe with the content image, there's other things you can do that overrides the pipes between the standard out to CloudWatch logs. I thought when I tested it did go to the CloudWatch, but don't remember now.
I don't remember. So either it worked and it worked as I expected, because I will be very surprised that I tried to code without putting things into console log. That's not how I work. I console log everything. So for me I'm pretty sure it worked, and I never got it. And when I was reading the documentation, I never read anything about logging. So I imagine it's working as expected, but I cannot say it. Yes, somebody put in the comments, CloudWatch logs do work on container images. Thank you for clarifying that, because for me, it was like, he tried and verified. So thank you very much. Yes.
And also was another service launched in a Werner keynote that really, I think was very, very useful. Amazon CloudWatch Shell. And I think this resolved the lives of a lot of people, because you can imagine, so basically you have to use your terminal in your computer and you have to install all of these packages like Amazon Clear or other packages as well, Python, blah, blah, blah. But with this now, only using your browser, you can use this Amazon Cloud Shell. It's like a terminal that AWS give you. And there are pre-installed pre-configuration package that you can use, and you just go through all the services. You have automatically access to all AWS services and all regions. So you don't need to set up the IAM profile or any other configuration to authenticate with AWS. I think this is very, very useful for developers.
Yeah.
Developers in general. About that though, because when I'm using the shell, a lot of the time is to do with taking what I have on my machine and maybe shipping it to Lambda or do something. So, and a lot of time, if I'm in the console, I'm interacting with the console. So, what's the actual use case here? When when would you use the shell instead of using the console?
Maybe for using I use it, for example, today to try one of the new AWS services. I was trying the Amazon location, and I didn't want to update my Amazon AWS CLI. So I tried.
It's like a virtual terminal, right?
Yeah.
So you don't need to install all of these packages in your computer. Yeah. You just use that. Use what you need at the moment, maybe in lab, or you have to test something, and you terminate this terminal. Let's say you finish and you are done. And this doesn't. So if you really want to test something, it will be very useful. I think
it's useful for people that do SSH to things.
Yeah.
That's something we don't do. I don't know, when was the last time you did an SSH to an instance, Jan?
5 years ago.
Yeah, I was playing a game day.
Yeah, you are more serverless guy, so you don't need.
They were laughing at me because I created an instance from an AMI and I didn't know how to do it because I don't remember the last time I created an instance from an AMI. And they were laughing at me like, how you don't know how to do this? I know the concept that you can do it, but I have not been in the EC2 console for like a million years, so I don't know how to find it.
Yeah, couldn't you also use the systems manager? I thought that was like a session manager that you can use to connect to EC2 instance as well without having to set up SSH and things like that.
Yeah, it's the system session manager. So basically, you don't need to have any key, or you don't need to have access. So you don't need really to have SSH to connect to the instance. You just go through the AWS Management Console, through the session, select the instance, but you have to install this agent in the instance to connect in the instance. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. There was a comment there that says if when it supports VPC, you'll be awesome. So I guess that's where maybe it'll be useful because when it's
I don't think if you really need the VPC for session manager, because you can create only the endpoint and works only with endpoint. Even the instance is in private subnet. You really don't need let's say the VPC in this case. I'm not sure what is the case that he's asking, but
and what Dan is saying here is how I've been using the terminal, because as Jan was saying, I usually like to deploy my Lambda function. So for me, Cloud9 has been my go-to when I don't want to install anything. If I'm using SAM and I want to do a demo, for example, in a clean environment or something, I just create a Cloud9 environment. Everything is there. Work on my Lambdas and use all the terminal features that has Cloud9. Have you used Cloud9?
Not really. Apart from a few demos, I haven't really had found a use case for it. And I think also shouldn't AWS just improve the packaging and the distribution of the AWS SDK so that you can just npm install like you install everything else.
Yeah, Cloud Shell is nice when you have no EC2 in your account. Okay. And here Ion is saying why he will need Cloud Shell with VPC. We allow you to troubleshoot issues with resources in the VPC. Okay.
Actually, that's one thing that they announced, which the VPC Access Analyzer.
Yeah.
I think that is super useful for debugging networking issues. I know I've sunk a lot of time just debugging. Where did I have mistake? Is it in the security group, that the netcode? Is it in the sort of VPC peering or something? And I think that looks like is something that you can just run it, pay 10 cents, and then it will just tell you, okay, you've got a misconfiguration in the security group or something like that. So that looks really interesting.
Simple to use. I tried the other day, and you put like the destination, the source, and then it will draw you a little diagram that is pretty nice that shows you which all the different kind of things like is hitting and why it's passing through everything. And because sometimes you might have that open gate and you don't know why it's open, why is the traffic going, it should not go, so it lets you know everything. So that's pretty nice for dummies like me, for VPCs.
And for monitoring as well, there was a new announcement, very, very interesting and useful, is Amazon Grafana, Managed Service Grafana, and Prometheus. I think for operation, it's going to save the life of operation teams in general, because especially for Grafana, that give you a really nice dashboard when you can do analysis of your data and logs, depend on the case. And I didn't try myself, however, it will be, I think, very, very useful. And what I understand, it also supports a lot of services in AWS and also Elasticsearch as well, that you can have all the logs in Elasticsearch and send to Grafana. Yeah. And Prometheus from the other side for tracing, so you can now understand, let's say, if you have a latency, how much time it will take from the request to the answer. It will be very, very useful. I think a lot of people lost a lot of time and to integrate AWS services with these services outside of AWS. So I think this was really, really nice.
I think that was one of the reasons that these services were integrated, because Grafana, I think, is one of the most used services for creating observability dashboards. Like, it's super popular. So like AWS is one of the biggest cloud providers. So I think it's a great partnership that these two are working together, because how many times we have installed Grafana in an instance and managed it, and then we have too many users and it's like, oh, now what?
And finally, they're managed service now, so you really don't need to take care about scalability, height availability. Everything is managed by you guys in AWS.
Black magic. Yeah, but it's pretty cool because it works with organizations. So you can basically set it up in one account in one region, and then it will see everything in all the regions in all your organizations. So it's kind of pretty powerful if you give the right permissions.
I didn't know that. So I mean, it's a regional service, or is it a global service?
It's you set it up, for example, now it's available in Dublin and Virginia. So that's where the kind of Grafana deployment will happen. Whatever, if they're doing a cluster or whatever they're doing, I don't know. But that Grafana thing can collect metrics from all your regions, from all your accounts within an organization. So it's a regional service in the sense that the Grafana instance or cluster or black box is installed in some region, but then it can access the CloudWatch or Elasticsearch or whatever AWS service from all the different regions and all the different accounts within organizations.
Yeah.
So
for me, if this service was global, it was much better, because if you want to really centralize everything,
well, you need to install it somewhere. So it cannot be. It's global in the usage of itself. It accesses everything from everywhere, but you need to say where your kind of Grafana installation is happening. And I think that's important, that some customers need to know if it's in US or it's in Europe, or, well, now those are two available. Yeah. I don't think Grafana is storing any data itself, but still it's nice. And
you just choose the data source, right? And then you just source the data from CloudWatch, for example.
Yeah, and it's super simple to import the data. You just basically say, oh, CloudWatch, this region, and it appears in your dashboard. So Very, very simple if you compare it to what was in the past to get the CloudWatch permissions set up and all the integrations for all your regions, for all your accounts. It's just very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, there's also a couple other things as well, like the AWS Glue, Elastic View. Sorry.
No
So
problem.
it's, I guess, for anyone who's had to do the whole down stream Lambda right to Elasticsearch, now you can just have AWS do it for you with the AWS Glue Elastic View. And they do something like buffering as well in case there's a problem with Elasticsearch that you can't import it. You can still access the data in the view.
And it's kind of nice because they do the past as well, because I think that's one of the biggest issues when you do the pipeline with the Dynamo streams, that then you need to batch copy all the past things into Elasticsearch. But now when you hook up these materialized views with Elastic View, whatever was there is copied automatically into the new materialized view, so you don't start from zero. So if you just want to add search in your application and you have a Dynamo table, you can just do it with that.
Yeah, I've had to do that several times myself. Not always to Elasticsearch, but I've been seeing I guess that's one thing that's probably missing from the whole equation, is having a serverless Elasticsearch offering. Because right now, our goal is probably still the closest thing I've found to a serverless Elasticsearch.
But if you talk with Rick Houlihan, he will tell you how to do it with Dynamo. Because when I was chatting with him, I told him we need a serverless Elasticsearch, and he was asking me what kind of search are you doing? I don't know if I want to search for name or like free text or by product name or something like that. Well, just use index and use the sort attribute and contains, and then you can do all kind of very fast search. I was like, okay. So that's been my poor man solution for not using Elasticsearch service.
Yeah, I think for a lot of search use cases, it's not going to be good enough because you also have to do weighting. You have to do all kind of sorting and things like that, which maybe you can squeeze into it, squeeze yourself into DynamoDB, but it's not going to be efficient. It's not going to be exactly what you want either. I mean, I've done a lot of search stuff for different products, and there's always all kind of, can you sort results based on, I don't know, how many followers this guy have if you're doing a social network, or how many when was the last time they posted something. There's all kind of weird things that you want to use to sort of weigh the results, and it's really hard to do that with something like DynamoDB and also the whole free text search as well.
I think it depends on what you need to do. That's why Elasticsearch is there. But maybe some use cases you can cover with simple Dynamo.
I think for login it will be very useful, especially when you have I know that Elasticsearch support Kibana. So for operation team, it will be very useful when you can basically do the filter of the logs and to analyze what's happening in your application, or to do some prediction. So I used a lot in finance services or finance companies. They really use a lot to understand and to see how the application are working.
Yeah, there's a lot of managed. Sorry.
Look out for metrics. I was thinking for example, for financial services. Have you checked that? It was announced also.
No, I didn't saw this. What kind of metrics?
So basically, it's called Lookout for Metrics, and it's a service that it's designed for more business level metrics than operational metrics. So, for example, those financial services that you were mentioning, and you can get any kind of metrics from CloudWatch, Elasticsearch, third-party providers, and then the service will apply machine learning to try to find patterns and things for you, so you can get nice visualizations and predictions. So it's an interesting service.
It's still quite a pain to set up Elasticsearch, though. In AWS, even the managed one, there's a lot of networking stuff you got to set up. There's also you got to set up for Kibana. You have to probably set up the Cognito identity pool, just so that you can manage, you can lock down the access to Kibana and stuff like that. It's just I don't know. Last time I did it, it took me a couple of days. Whereas for Algolia, just like 2 minutes, set up a sign up account, get an API key, and you're done. So yeah, I really hope there's going to be some kind of a more serverless Elasticsearch offering in the horizon.
It's been in my wish list since, I don't know, 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's like the number one thing people ask for on my podcast as well. Like almost everyone's when I ask them, what's your top AWS wish list item? Almost everyone says serverless Elasticsearch.
Yeah. I think with Amplify, at least creating the Elasticsearch becomes easier because it does it for you. But then still is a instance, and if you forget to turn it off, it's there, and it's like
yeah. And also that Elasticsearch also has got a lot of like annoying little things as well. Like once it's identified a particular attribute as a certain type, if you try to upload data that's got different type because something changed, it doesn't it doesn't like it, and a bunch of things like that, which also require. Yeah, also I think Elasticsearch, the latest versions, just got a lot more complicated than I remember. I said, I went to the management console. It's like, what are all these options?
Yeah, I rarely go to the console because I like more my CLI or my SDKs. The options are more limited. I always get very confused in the console. So what do you think about this chaos engineering as a service? Do you have some thoughts on it?
I think it's interesting that they're offering a solution, managed solution. Obviously, you already had the Gremlin, and I think there's another company in that space already. So interesting to see how the feature parity is there. But I guess this is like a classic AWS thing. See where the traction, and then the moving, and so I don't know how. I haven't seen it myself, so I need to see how well it actually works and what it supports. But Gremlin certainly is have seen a lot of adoption. Certainly looking at it from the outside. And it's something that more and more people are sort of pushing for. There's still, I guess, the whole thing around what do you do with serverless, because a lot of the more sort of chaos engineering articles is all about killing servers and things like that, which on serverless, a lot of that is already done for you, all the infrastructure stuff. So you got to focus more on the application layer, and I guess Gunnar has done a lot of work to make libraries for making that a lot easier. But yeah, interesting to see how well how it works.
Yeah. I think it will be very useful for computing solution or container solution in general. But basically, if I understand it correctly, just do stress test on this application and understand if this application can go live in production with how many users that you want or not. So
I don't think it's load testing your application. I think it's doing, it has an experiment definition. So I think for now, it's not live yet, but it should have support for adding latency. So that's quite useful in the serverless ecosystem. Also kind of killing services, like, okay, now something is down, and you can kind of fake that. And there was a third thing as well, but I don't remember. But the cool thing is that it's monitoring your system. So if something goes too wrong, and you can define when something is too wrong, it will stop the experiment for you. So then it's kind of a safe environment. So if you add latency and everything starts breaking, and basically your system really cannot take it, then the experiment will end. And you don't basically need to go yourself and say, hey, stop doing that.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't try myself, to be honest. I don't
think it's available for anybody yet, so it's coming next year.
It will be next year.
Let's see if it's like next year, or is it like time streams?
I don't know.
It's in the roadmap. This is important.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. Yeah. You were mentioning, Zamira, that you find interesting QuickSight Queue.
Yeah, QuickSight Queue was. I watched this session, and it was really, really interesting. So basically, this service allow you to use natural language, and you can get the answer from different teams of different backends. So during this session that I watched, she explains, for example, if you are in the meeting and you want to have in this meeting some kind of data, and you have to ask probably someone, and someone needs to go to the specific team to get this data back, and this is like time consuming. But using this natural language, so basically you can go, it's like a dashboard, a quick site, normal dashboard, and you just say, okay, give me 5 richest country in the world, and just using the natural language give you back the graphic of the 5 countries in the world. I'm not sure if really can be useful in the future, but was a really nice feature.
Yeah, I think it's useful for maybe people that are using those quick site dashboards, are not creating them, and I think it's limited to the data sources that it has. So if you maybe ask a question and it's not kind of in the data source,
or maybe for people that are not really don't have a background of engineering, and they don't use query, and they don't really need to learn a query or any specific language.
Maybe some management kind of thing.
Management it would be useful, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Top 3 sellers, or I don't know, in the region, and then that brings them something up. But I think all the machine learning announcements were pretty interesting. It's kind of coming everywhere.
Yeah, it was a new service also, DevOps Guru or something like that.
Yeah,
so I didn't understand because I'm not really good in machine learning, but seems like you can do pipelines to build and deploy machine learning stuff.
No, that's different. That's SageMaker pipelines.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So sorry, I'm not.
No problem. I know all the announcements by the title. I don't know what they do, but I know all the title. That's my job, you know. Yeah. But SageMaker pipelines, I think they're bringing a lot of good practices to the machine learning world.
It was only the Andy Jesse keynote was like 1 hour and 40 minutes, only machine learning stuff this year. But I think it's normal. Machine learning is going to be the hottest topic of 2021, I guess.
Yeah. By the way, Shan, have you used the container image for something, or you have some plan to use it, the Lambda container images?
Not really. I tested it out during the beta because I was going to write a launch blog post about it, but I haven't used it myself, and I don't have a use case for it.
Yeah, I don't remember when was the last time I used a container. Well, for testing the container images a couple of months ago, but
Same here.
But yeah, so. But I think it opens a lot of opportunities. But I think we were discussing a little bit before the chat, the session today, that Lambda is getting more and more specific for more specific use cases. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that idea that you were saying, because I think it's pretty interesting.
So you got a lot of, I guess, a lot of features that's been announced the last 12 months. You've got provision concurrency, you've got the container image support, you've got support for AVX2 instruction set. You've got there's a lot of different options now. You can sort of configure your function, including EFS as well as the database proxy, which is most of the time probably doesn't apply to most people. Even for myself, I mean, I've not had to use EFS, I've not had to use the provision concurrency, I've not had to use database proxy, apart from advising customers who are using RDS, not RDS serverless, to use it. I haven't had to do it myself. And I think one of the things is that you are in a sort of natural product life cycle. You are going to be gearing more towards advanced use cases, so that you expand the use cases that customers can use it for, especially for someone like AWS, where you want to see more and more people adopt Lambda, and so you need to unlock use cases whereby before someone would have just said, oh no, you can't do that because we are this Fortune 500 company, and we need to use the same consistent security tooling and for governance and whatnot for the
and you've been doing serverless for a long time, so I'm pretty sure you have and you've been doing public speaking for a long time, maybe some slide out there that says what Lambda can do and what Lambda cannot do. I revised one of my first talks, and I think the other day, and I think I can cross everything from the list that Lambda cannot do.
Pretty much, apart from maybe like long running stuff, like really long running thing. That's probably the only thing that's left now, because there's still the 15 minutes. And I guess that's probably only a matter of time before they bump it to 30 minutes, an hour. I don't know. So that, literally I had a one talk, I think 2 years ago, I had a couple of a slide with a couple of roadblocks for things that you can't do with Lambda. Like I said, now like all of them are gone apart from the 15 minutes limitation. But still, I guess the problem is that now you're making a service that are complicated for everybody, not just for, you enable a lot more, but also you make the baseline probably seems more complicated than it should be. So I was talking to Anne Stanley the other day about potentially maybe that's something that you would just hide in the console, so that you have like an advanced tab, so that a lot of these options you just don't see it. Maybe you have a different console that's designed for different personas. So if you're building APIs, then you don't need to see a lot of this EFS stuff. You don't need to see some of these other things. And then only when you say, I know what I'm doing, show me all the different options, then you get to see all the different things you could do.
And even you, that you know what you're doing, you don't use all the different options. So I would not like to see them.
But most of the time I just scroll past.
That's why we don't use the console. Do you use the console?
The console is so big now, so it takes so long to scroll past.
But really, do you use the console to create functions?
No, I don't. But I do like to sometimes use the console to just have a look at things, and also I show people like these are all the different options you have. It's funny as well in my workshop with production ready serverless workshop. One of the first things I do is just explain this is Lambda, these are all the different features you have. That lesson used to take like 20 minutes. Now it's taking more and more time, because here's EFS, here's the provision concurrency, here's the database proxy, when do you use them, and but I think there's that small subset of the core features is enough for like 90% of use cases. And I think there's always that urge to try the latest and newest thing in your project, and I think that can sometimes be a bad thing.
I know, but I kind of like that Lambda gets a lot of features, but I kind of find it very hard, because I always tell Lambda that is the easiest way to get into AWS, but I think I will still need to recommend some kind of infrastructure as code, like CDK or Amplify or something. So it's kind of smaller amount of things that you see.
Exactly.
It's scary.
If you go to the console, it's just you see all the options all in your face. Whereas with SAM or serverless framework, at least you just do the basic thing, and that's enough for most people anyway.
Exactly. So let's recommend sessions for the last days of reinvent. They can be from today, tomorrow, or from the past. Zamira, do you have some session that you would like to recommend the audience that they should watch?
Yeah, so there are so many, depends on really what you are focusing on, serverless, machine learning, or infrastructure. I will definitely recommend one that was from Louis Wang. It was Amazon SideQ, was really quite interesting. And also Amazon glue elastic view, new feature of this that do materialize view. And also all the, as I said in the beginning of this show, all the machine learning stuff or monitoring, Panorama was quite interesting. We didn't talk in this show as well, was Amazon it was Amazon something that you can create a template or for infrastructure.
Proton?
Proton, right.
Proton, yeah.
It interesting as well. So especially for infrastructure guys that really using CloudFormation is really weird service. So this can be very useful. I think when give you the pipelines or give you all of these templates already already there, and you as a developer, you can just choose one of them and just deploy your application.
I don't think it's really designed for developers, though. It's more geared towards a large company that's got a release or some kind of an ops team that basically are sort of tasked with providing tooling so that other teams can just use the pipeline. A lot of companies got these kind of release teams. Like Facebook has it. I know a lot of the banks. I know some of the banks I worked in the past have got a release team, not a centralized one, but certainly there's a silo. People that are responsible for putting together tooling for releases and things like that. I think that's more what the Proton is targeting, and not the average developer or DevOps teams.
Yeah, for me, that's why I'm more focusing on enterprise and really big, large organizations. I mean, it will be very useful.
Yeah, that's true. I think for small companies, it's maybe a lot of work for just deploying their
company. Probably Amplify, it's good.
or just a normal CI/CD deployment pipeline. And what about you, Sean? Do you have some talk to recommend?
Yeah, there's a session tonight by Mark Brooker on the, I think it's called like a deep dive into...
I have it in my list, so I will put it in the screen. Deep dive into AWS Lambda security.
Into Lambda security, function isolation. That's the one, yeah. So that one's going to have some interesting, I guess a lot of tidbits into how Lambda works internally, and well, if interesting, that kind of thing. But the Mark Brooker and some of the other principal engineers, that their sessions are always good to watch. I saw a couple on the week one. There's one called the Monitoring Production Services at Amazon by David Janasek. That was great. That's got a lot of tidbits about I guess things that you should be thinking about in terms of monitoring, basic things that you learn over time. But if you haven't, then it's like, oh, that's so obvious. Things like separating latency metric for success versus failure requests, because failures always happen very quickly and it skews your numbers. There was also a session by Mark Brooker called Building Technology Standards at Amazon Scale, which talks about the trade-offs of having standards within a company. And what the funny thing is, given the title at the end, his conclusion was that standards should be a last resort because it limits the company's creativity. Instead, you should sort of set up tenets and principles so that people will follow them and make the best decision that follows along with your core principles, as opposed to enforcing it from top down using standards. So I think that was a really good session as well.
I think this is part of the Builders Library, so I recommend all of the talks from Builders Library. They're super interesting.
Yeah. There's another one from the Builders Library, automating continuous delivery pipeline at Amazon by Claire. Which, if it's the first time you read about Amazon's deployment pipeline, you'll be like, holy God, what the hell is this? It's so complicated. But if you think about the blast radius, a code change you can have on AWS customers, I'm really glad that they're actually doing all of these really careful steps and really one very slowly and safely, as opposed to just ship it. But yeah, so there's a lot of these things that they talk about from the Builders Library. They're great for inspiration. Depending on your company, I would say maybe 90% of the time, none of them would even reply to you. But it's great to learn about them, to read it, just get inspiration to understand. Okay, if I ever get to the point where I need to solve these kind of problems, here are some of the things we can think about and consider. I always think that it's good to sort of learn a bit more than the problem that you're solving today, so that what are other people doing, even if it doesn't apply to you. There's a couple other sessions.
In the Builders Library, there's mostly principal engineers or talking, so they're usually quite good public speakers because it's part of the role to know how to do public speaking. So the talks are very well done and very well executed. So even if you cannot apply anything, it's just very entertaining. And they are not really, they are level 200, but that doesn't mean that they are very simple, but they're just very well explained. At least that's my kind of take away from the sessions. It's like, you can enjoy a 200 session level because it will go into the details, but it will guide you through every step on the way. So I think they're my favorites.
Yeah. So if you go back to the catalog, you just search for some of these, some of the principal engineers by name. You can find their sessions at reinvent. Mark Brooker, David Janasek, Becky Weiss, Claire. I can't pronounce her surname.
Claire
Linguri, that's the one. Yeah, there's quite a few of them. Their sessions are always good to watch. I never found a session by those guys that I didn't enjoy or didn't learn anything. But yeah, those are quite good. There's a couple of other sessions on event-driven architectures, microservices, patterns, which I thought was quite good as well.
Yeah, and today there is one of the sessions that I'm quite interested in watching. That is the Adrian Crocroft architecture trends and topics for 2021. And I think this is something that Adrian is a great public speaker, and he has quite an interesting vision on the architecture aspect. So I think this is something that I would recommend people to check out.
Yeah, definitely. That's in my calendar as well. 11 o'clock CET time.
I don't know. I will watch them all in demand because I have the list that is like kilometric. So when I'm folding laundry or eating or doing something, I will have a session to keep my mind entertained, because there is so many good sessions, at least that I want to watch. So, and there is another one from Lambda that might be interesting as well. That is optimizing your Lambda function performance. And this is by Alex Casalboni, and he talks a lot about using the performance tuning tool and how to get the best results. So I think now with the 1 millisecond billing, I don't know how he will have tweaked his talk, but I'm very interested in seeing.
He's updated the tool already. He's updated the power tuning tool already. So it's
basically 1 hour after the launch.
Yeah, pretty much.
Very fast, but I think this is always an interesting session, like the 400 level. Yesterday was Chris Moon's optimizing of Lambda functions, and today is the part 2. So I think these are always interesting things to watch. And
also I guess there's also the DB sessions by Rick Houlihan and Alex Debris. It's like I keep having arguments with those guys on Twitter about single table design. I don't think you should be using it by default, but at the same time you should know those patterns so that you can use it where it makes sense. So definitely check those out. Still, I don't agree with single table design. I do use the patterns, just not use it as on everything on one table.
Yeah, I think one day I will get you in the same place as Rick Houlihan, and I will record that and just drink here and drink my coffee.
Yeah, like popcorns.
Exactly, because when I chat with Rick Houlihan, I have a 2 sessions that I have to do with him, because it was so much that he spoke and he talked so much. It was so fun to chat with him. So I would love to have him chat with someone else. So then I can get yes, no, okay, don't fight. So maybe next year I need to organize something like that, a panel. Maybe I get a viral video out of it. Yes, but I think with all that, I have to thank you again for being today in the show. I leave your contact details in the screen, so if people want to follow you, if they have not already, they should check your out. You are both prolific writers and speakers everywhere, so I think it's always nice to follow people like you. And yeah, I think this is it for me. The live streaming, I will not see these lights shining in my face for the next month, so I'm very excited about that. Yeah, so thank you very much for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, Samantha.
Thank you. And thank you all watching for being here for 9 episodes of What to Watch Today at reinvent. I see you again in January. So thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.